Welcome back to Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. I'm your host, Dave, and today I've got an extremely special guest. I had a chance to sit down and chat with actor, former wrestler, and current comic book creator, tylermane. tylermane is maybe a household name if you know the characters that he played. Sabertooth in the first X-Men movie, reprising it in Deadpool Wolverine. Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2. He was also in Troy, the Brad Pitt epic by Wolfgang Peterson. He started his career wrestling around the world, and I get into the origins of that with his training at Stu Hart's Dungeon, going over to New Japan Pro Wrestling and wrestling different tours over there, as well as his stint in WCW before he made his acting debut. He also shares some great stories about not just wrestling, but the crossover between wrestling and acting. And we talk about his comic that he kickstarted last year called The Last Spartan, Red Tape, with a cover by Mark Silvestri. For somebody that has journeyed through different types of careers, all kind of culminating with the acting thing, Tyler's just got such a great sense of storytelling, and he's a super friendly guy. It's probably also because he's Canadian, and you know, we all love Canadians around here. I was able to sit down and talk with him for about an hour. Big thanks to his publicity team for setting this up, and look forward to the next Kickstarter for The Last Spartan next year. All the links for Tyler's socials and his website and ways to buy the comic are in the description below. I was extremely honored to be able to talk to him. Fan of his work since the first X-Men movie, where I learned who he was, all the way up to the most recent Wolverine Deadpool. And yeah, so I think this is a very enjoyable one for fans of wrestling, movies, comics, all of it. But just talking to somebody who's had an incredible journey through life, and he is definitely not done. So before we get started, please do hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube, and drop a comment down below after you're finished watching. And if you are so inclined to support the podcast, you can join the Patreon. Links for that are in the description below. But let's get to my interview with tylermane. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. It's October, which means, as the kids say, it's spooky month. And I've got one of the spookiest guests that I've ever had on, somebody who has been a professional wrestler, who has embodied the spirit of Michael Myers in the two Rob Zombie Halloween movies, Sabertooth in the X-Men movie, as well as Deadpool Wolverine. He's been in Jupiter's Legacy, Doom Patrol, and he has now released his first comic book graphic novel, The Last Spartan, Red Tape. And I'm speaking to tylermane. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you check all the boxes, all of the things I've ever been interested in. You've done them all. So that's, you know, it's nice to be able to talk about so many different, you know, parts of the media spectrum with you, because you've been in it all. I mean, I grew up a wrestling fan, a comic fan, and I'm a movie person. So we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. Let's jump in.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in because your path leads you from all of these things. Out of your career paths, which one is the first thing that you were in love with as a kid? Were you a comic reader? Did you sit in front of the TV and watch movies over and over, or were you watching wrestling a lot?
Yeah. Like for me, wow. When I was a little kid, growing up in Canada, I would watch Stampede Wrestling. That was on every Saturday morning. And I was watching that since I was a little wee kid. But I remember my first introduction to comic books is we would have white elephant sales where you'd bring all your stuff to sell to help raise money for the school so the school could buy new books or whatever. And that's where I got my first comic books. You know, I got a Tom Sawyer, I got a Boris Karloff. There was like 5 of them. I still have them to this day.
Oh, wow.
And because I was a tall, skinny kid, glasses, braces, I was slightly dyslexic. So that was how I kind of taught myself how to read too. You know, I was in special reading classes as a kid, but then I would get these comic books. I'd look at the picture and try and make my way through the story. And if I couldn't do that, I would make my own stories up to the pictures that I would saw. And I guess that helped me my imagination and make me want to do this as a living, So then I ended up starting professional wrestling and
Yeah.
that and for 11 and a half years, and then transitioned into the film. And it was funny because my very first film that I did was, have you ever seen any of those wrestling luchador movies?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got offered one of those when I was wrestling in Mexico. And I thought, wow, they feed you. They don't want to try and beat the heck out of you. And they pay you. So I was like, this is my goal, But going back to that, like every Saturday morning, I'd watch the wrestling, and then I'd just start watching films and reading comic books and everything until Sunday night when Wonderful World of Disney would come on, and I'd watch that, and then have to go to school the next morning, and I'd be so upset, and my mom would have to kick me out the back door, and it was so I guess that's where it all started for me.
I mean, that sounds, it's like kind of like, I'm a little bit younger, but I was, Saturday night main event. And, if I could find a friend that was watching a pay-per-view that got the pay-per-view, I'd go over there. And, I grew up in Long Island in New York. So we had comic stores everywhere. And so it's just like all of this amazing inspiration was readily available to me. Do you remember the first movie that kind of stuck with you? Like the first thing that you saw that you're like, I want to do this.
Oh, I mean, Schwarzenegger. Anything Schwarzenegger, Terminators, whatever. I was like, yeah, I'm going in this direction. But yeah, so you just watch that, Stallone, any of those guys, those action guys, that got me excited and helped me want to, and it helped with the wrestling too, because it was
sure.
It was all kind of related. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing about, wrestling is almost the perfect, what we think about as modern day wrestling, maybe in the last 40 years, is like the perfect combination of comics and action movies. Like you're a character and you're an action star.
Yeah. Larger than life, mixed with theater in the round, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. So the one of the thing that fascinates me about your early wrestling career is you got into train with Stu Hart at the Dungeon. And, for people that are listening that may know the last name, that is Bret Hart and Owen Hart's father. And, the beginning of that legacy starts with Stu.
Yeah. Yeah. Stu was the real deal, and I trained in the Dungeon, where you walk into their house down the stairs and you feel like you are going into a literal dungeon, and the ceiling was low. And I'm like, Stu, how are we going to do suplexes in here and all of this? And he goes, kid, you got a lot to learn before we get to that stage. So that I remember the very first time Stu was like, he's like, kid, come here. Let me show you a double grapevine. And he put his hold on me and just had me squeal, And I know he was thinking, is he going to come back tomorrow? But I did. And I did, and I did, and I did. And, that's where I started.
How old were you at the time?
God, I think I was like 18, 19.
So I
was young.
You were probably
fresh.
Six. You were about as tall, maybe 6'5", 6'6" at that point. Maybe you finished growing.
Yeah. I was probably 6'7" at the time, 6'8".
Wow.
Yeah. And I started working out and bulking up because I was doing the martial arts and played football and stuff like that. So I was on my journey to get to become a grown man, so to speak.
I've seen pictures of that room, with the paneling, the brown paneling wall.
Yeah, the wood paneling and the green and
it's crazy. But how did you stand up in that room? Like I see the pipes and
yeah. It was tight. It was really interesting. But
wow.
It was the basis for everything. Yeah. And
I guess if you can learn how to wrestle in a room like that that's the worst conditions, and you just want to get to that squared circle.
Right. Exactly. When you're working with Stu Hart, you're not standing up very much.
Yeah,
he's,
that's right.
he's taking you to
That's
the
right.
ground.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I grew up loving Brett. That was my guy when I was a kid, and he's a technical. I mean, that's the thing. It's all on the mat.
Missions. Yeah. That's how they learn. Down in that dungeon, grappling.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing. And so many of your fellow, colleagues and Canadian colleagues went through there, and a lot survived, and some, they never made it. I'm sure.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. But wrestling, so you get start on your journey around the world real quick when you become a wrestler. I mean, that's pretty amazing to know that you got to see all of these different cultures and countries at a young age.
Yeah.
What was that like for your young mind?
It was amazing. I went from Stu, I went to Red Bastien in Los Angeles and did some more training there. Mm-hmm. And then went straight away to South Africa and wrestled in South Africa. I was so green. It was crazy. And then that was in December. I finished that tour in December. And then got the phone call, hey, you're going straight over to England to train with those guys and wrestle with them. And, I had clothing for South Africa. So I'm over in England freezing my butt off. And all the boys felt sorry for me because they're like, where's your clothes? And there's no place I'm going to buy clothes in England for a guy my size, So
sure.
So it was a lot of fun. So, and then I went from there. I did some more wrestling in the States, and then over to Japan. And I'm very lucky to travel the whole world, wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. And New Japan Pro, I mean, it's the most respected wrestling, I think, in the world, especially at this point. Like, there's nothing, everybody wants to be in Japan. One of the most fascinating things about that is you got to wrestle Andre the Giant in Japan, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I worked for both organizations over there, but I believe I am the last person to wrestle Andre the Giant in 1993 before he passed away. Yeah. Because we were in the Tokyo Dome and we were doing a tag match, and he comes up to me and says, hey, boss, is it okay if I pin you? I'm like, oh, it'd be an honor, but it's be careful what you wish for, He was at the stage, he landed on me, and I'm like, oh, get off. He goes, just a second, boss. We got a 3 count. Sorry, boss. Sorry, boss. And then he rolled up. I'm like, holy shit. But it was such an honor to work with Andre. I mean, it's Andre.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And I looked like a toothpick, and I was heavier than I am now. It's like, good Lord. But yeah, and he was the most sweetest gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine a lot of, I've watched a lot of interviews and read a lot of books, especially about him. And people did say, though, in the ring, it was like a wall, it was like a wall hitting you. Yeah.
I mean, like, when I got to wrestle him, it was just bouncing off of him, making him look good, then the final pin type of thing. But it was just an honor to be able to step in the ring with Andre,
Yeah. Yeah. What an amazing legend. And, another one of those people that he's a mythical figure when you're a child. And I've got my vulcanized rubber figure of him at 7 years old. And that thing weighs like a good 12 ounces or 14 ounces of rubber.
Yeah.
How long were you in Japan for?
I did 3 tours there. So I did the World Tag Team Tours, and then I was there for, I think it was like 6 weeks otherwise for Inoki's organization. So, yeah.
Did that leave an impression?
Oh, yeah. Wrestling in Japan is a lot different than anything that you do in America. It's like, I was over there with Steve Williams, who was a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Dr. Death. And we were over there with Bubba's, and he goes, now I'm going over to Inoki's where it's a fight for your life type of thing. So it was a whole different ball game going from organization to organization. But yeah, it's just, you do what you do. You get your check, you go home and take care of your family. That was the game
Right.
back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then,
Well,
I did a tour in Yugoslavia
oh, wow.
on that with Rocky Johnson, The Rock's dad, 15
Hmm.
years before I did the Scorpion King with Dwayne,
With,
you know,
wow.
and I'm coming out. I'm heading into Universal Studios in California to film because we were doing reshoots, and Rocky's coming out and he sees me. He goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm getting ready to work with your kid, old man." And he just laughed and he goes, "Oh, you son of a! Come on, have you met Dwayne?" I go, "I haven't met him yet." So he took me in there, and it was me, Rocky, and Dwayne sitting there just chatting for the first time.
Wow.
So it's the business has been very good to me.
Yeah, yeah, and you keep kind of weaving through all of these things that we go, you go into WCW and you're a tag team with Kevin at the time. He's
Yeah.
he's Vinny Vegas and you're Big Sky.
Yeah.
But that's like your last stint in wrestling, right? Was that era?
I did some other indie stuff after that. But yeah, I did the first time I went in was I was Woman's Bodyguard Nitron with Doom, and
Hmm.
then tagged with Kevin. Kevin went to do the Diesel gimmick, and
Right.
then I was left in limbo. And then I went and did some more, international touring and stuff, and then I got the X-Men, and I was like, I'm hanging up my boots because
Yeah.
when this is
Yeah.
dead, it was a nice transition. So, because wrestling, even though you have predetermined outcomes, it is a
Hmm.
very physically demanding
Oh yeah.
sport on your body, and I mean, heck, I got 2 new hips to prove it. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I mean,
and talking with Kevin when I see him, he's I think he had something like 36 operations. So
yeah.
physically demanding,
And that's the physical on top of the mental, on top of the rigorous travel schedule. I mean, I've watched guys, I wanted to ask you actually, did you ever have any interactions with Big Show Paul White? I think you were gone before he started.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd met Paul a few times because I was living in Kansas City and Harley lived there, Harley Race, and Paul showed up at a party that he was having. So I got to meet him there and then a couple other times. So, just through stuff like that. And I've ran into him
Yeah.
in the airports and stuff like that. So,
But he's had his knees replaced.
yeah,
We're old friends. There's somebody I've known for a long time, and it's just like, I get to see this stuff up close, and you can't fake the physicality. It's impossible, and unfortunately, we've seen a lot of people suffer, life-ending injuries or
yeah,
mental health issues, and it's like being a musician without any of the safety net of it, or like any of the
right.
it's right, because you're a road dog, but you're also taking these bumps every night.
Yeah. And that's the hardest thing, I mean, like you got 10 minutes of fame and glory in an
Hmm.
arena, and then you got 23 hours and 50 minutes of total boredom where you're trying to get to the next arena, find a hotel, find healthy food,
Yeah.
and a gym to stay in shape. It's for 200 to 300 days of the year, and when I was wrestling in Mexico, we were wrestling up to 9 times a week sometimes, so
Yikes.
you'd be wrestling all week and then 2 on the weekends in a different state
Yeah.
of Mexico, so it's you're you're traveling, paying your dues, and
Yeah.
it's not just hard on your body. Then you have the taxing of trying to get around and figure out where you're going in a foreign country or whatever.
Yeah. There's that.
It's
And
not like they're holding you by your hand and going, "Oh, come this way, here we go."
I think one thing that doesn't get said enough for people like you or for Kevin or for Paul, you're also trying to find a hotel that has a bed that's big enough,
Yeah,
a flight that has a seat that you're not jammed up into yourself, or a rental car
rental.
that you're not, Yeah, I mean, it's just one of these things that you don't hear a ton of people talk about. Is that also the other aspect of it?
Yeah, well, it's the
So
unseen side of the game, that people don't realize that you've got to go through. I mean, you don't get from Philly to New York in blink of an eye
no,
or snap of a finger, or wherever you go,
yeah, yeah, you got to do that 6 hour overnight drive. Sometimes,
Sometimes driving,
it's a
sometimes
lot.
sometimes flying and driving, and so and then and then that was back in the day where you didn't have a cell phone where you could find the arena.
Yeah,
So you got to find that arena, and yeah, it was different back then.
sure is the whole time that you're traveling the world wrestling, coming back here wrestling. Did you still have your sights set on being in movies and eyeing that the whole time?
Oh yeah, totally. Like in between my tours and stuff like that, I would go, if I was living in Kansas City or wherever I was, to Los Angeles to try and make the connections and get the meetings that I needed to get that to happen. So I mean, it was a hard grind. It doesn't just happen
Yeah.
overnight, no matter who you are. I mean, it's like, so you're a wrestler, okay? Prove yourself. And you have that, and some roles will come along and help get you to the next stepping stone quicker than the other would, but it's all just a stepping stone progression, and
It's a slow build.
yeah, and luckily I've been stepping on stones on the way up. So
And so that brings me to the moment that most of us out here found out who you were is you're Sabertooth and X-Men, and that you got a call about that, right? You didn't audition for it traditionally,
yeah.
or
Well, somehow my name was thrown in the mix as a stunt guy, and I wasn't a stunt guy. I think my manager at the time probably put me in the stunt directory or something. I do this, he's if you can wrestle, you can do stunts. So hold it. I draw the line of getting thrown off the building, on fire. None of that stuff,
Yeah, those are two different worlds.
So I get that call, and I'm talking to the stunt coordinator, and he's like, "How are you with a 120-foot decelerator?" I'm like, I didn't even know at the time what the hell that was. I'm like, maybe okay. I don't know, And at that point, he knew I didn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Sure.
But then I had the look, I had the blonde hair, I had the Fu Manchu,
Yeah.
I kind of, and I was
the height, the build,
beefed up at the time, and they were still looking for the Sabertooth character. So he showed Bryan Singer my picture, and Bryan was like, "I want to see him." So I went down in the valley and got all the comic books I could, a stack of comic books. Sabertooth, if Sabertooth was in it, I was buying it,
Sure.
And just looking at, and that's where the stuff from, a kid looking through comic books, I kind of created my own story and my own backstory for this guy, and then I followed what was happening with Victor Creed, and I even went and got fake teeth so I'd look more like the character, right?
Yeah.
So the day comes, I'm going in to meet Bryan, and I go into the bathroom, put these fake teeth in with Polydent or Polygrip. I'm like, shit, someday I might be using this for real, And it's like, good God, that stuff is gross, right?
Oh God.
So then I'm walking into his office. I knock on the door and I say, "I'm here to see Mr. Singer," with these fake teeth in. And there's this kid on the edge of the couch typing. Doesn't even look up. He just puts his hand up. He goes, and he's typing into his computer. And it was probably 30 seconds or something. I'm like, what is this little son of a,
Yeah.
Mood to be Sabertooth. He looks up. He goes, "I'm Bryan Singer. You're Sabertooth. Holy I was taking the whole doorway. And then seriously, like he was so excited and then he saw the fake teeth and then he jumped on. I remember he had there was a glass coffee table there. He jumped on the coffee table and he goes, choke me. So I went, "Ah!" And
you knew how to do it.
Yeah. And he goes, "Oh my God, you're Sabertooth." And that's how I got the role, That was it.
That's incredible. And that's the vibe through that film. I mean, I grew up a huge Wolverine fan. So ultimately, like, Wolverine and Sabretooth is what I wanted from that movie more than anything else. And, you get it real early in the movie. You get that fight in the snow, which I've read was a pretty hellish shoot for you, that specific scene.
Oh, yeah. We were the coldest day in Canada, in Pickering, Ontario. I think it was 40 below with about a 60 or 80 below wind chill. Everybody's in their, North parkas and stuff like that. They're all bundled up and we're in these outfits and stuff. I got these fake hands on and this rubber forehead, this silicone forehead on. And luckily I had the fur and leather, but you'd go outside after being in the trailer sweating. You have a pool of sweat under my prosthetic so that I'd go outside and it'd freeze. So I'd get these headaches from this. And it wasn't snowing enough. So the way they create snow is they shoot potato flakes at you. So I've got these instant potato flakes flying at me as I got my mouth open, getting mouthful of potatoes. And then I'm supposed to hit him with this log and attack the truck. And so, yeah, it was interesting. It was like, holy crap, okay, it's worth it. But here we go.
Right. It's such an interesting thing because that movie mixed with Spider-Man, at the time in those couple of years, was pretty much what kickstarted where we are now, which,
it all off. I mean, there were stuff in the past, but this was the reimagining of them and brought them back to the mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Blade was a great movie, but I don't think a lot of people associated Blade with the comics as much as Spider-Man and X-Men, obviously. But what's crazy is, like, I grew up, I was an autograph collector back in the day. I met you, I think, at Good Morning America when you were promoting the film in New York.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I was, and
yeah, no,
but I got one of the action figures signed. But I was, it was interesting from the fans' perspective because we knew, like I knew Ian McKellen and obviously Halle Berry. You and Hugh and James Marsden, for the most part, were unknowns, and that was the best part about it because it was like you had such good chemistry in those fight scenes. And the contacts, though, I know the contacts were real bad for you.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see on film.
Yeah, I mean, it looked great. It all came together.
Yeah,
it looked great. And then I was asked back for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes,
I like if you take the head of the new Deadpool and Wolverine and put it on the old costume body. I think perfect. That would be perfect, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the costume that I had for Deadpool and Wolverine, but I think if you put that fur and leather, just because it was a little cooler,
it looked cool. Yeah, it definitely did. Before we get to other movies, how is that reprising the role? And obviously, hilariously, you last about 3 seconds of the film, and your head is severed off your body.
Maybe 5. Come on.
But I mean, that got a huge pop. That got a huge pop in the theater when you.
Yeah. It was, when I got the call, Sean calls me and he goes, "Hey, how would you like to be Sabertooth again?" I'm like, "Oh, hell yeah, let's go." He goes, "Well, it's going to be a very, very quick cameo." I go, I don't care. I just want to be Sabertooth again. And it was fantastic because it kind of rejuvenated my health journey now, because he was like, "Okay, we need you to be able to run. You got to train." So I trained for like 3 months before that.
Oh, wow.
For that, right? I was like, okay, all right. But it kicked off getting back into shape and everything, taking it very seriously now again, which is good because at my age, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Otherwise you get rusty and you can't move. And, but it was great to see. And, I mean, that movie did whatever it did business box office, but a lot of people saw you again.
Yeah.
And, what's interesting is, like, I imagine kids are going to go back and watch the first X-Men, young kids who saw that and are going to see you as Sabretooth, from 25 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
It was kind of cool because, doing all that training and everything at the premiere, seeing people like Tom DeSanto and all of those guys, and you don't even look like you aged a bit, except you lost a bit of hair, So I was like,
yeah,
cool. So yeah, it was great. It was great to be a part of that and be doing it all over again.
Yeah. Well, it was awesome to see you. Because that's you're the first Sabertooth, and so that's a big deal I think for all of us that grew up seeing X-Men, reading those X-Men comics, and loving the battles between Sabertooth and Wolverine. So the gap between X-Men and your first job with Rob Zombie, which would be Devil's Rejects as Rufus, it's not that big of a gap, but how does that come about? Because then obviously that relationship blossoms into 2 Halloween movies.
Yeah. That journey in between from X-Men, I did Troy. I did, I think
that's right.
So I was getting the good roles, and then I auditioned for, I believe it was the part that Dallas Page got, and I didn't get the role because he didn't have anything written for Rufus at that time. But little did I know he was wanting to replace the House of a Thousand Corpses Rufus, and that was the whole reason why I was being seen. And so from that, about 2 weeks after my audition, I get a call, and we're negotiating the Rufus contract. Went on set for 4 days. They're shooting the opening scenes of the Devil's Rejects, and then got to know Rob and everybody there, and from that, the phone rang a couple of years later, and he says, "Hey, I'm doing this movie. If you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it." And it was so I was like, "Cool, let's do it," and because he explained the whole backstory, how he was going to be a product of his environment, make him more than a one-dimensional character, and give this whole backstory to the character. So, I was all for it. I loved it.
Did you, were horror movies a thing that you enjoyed? We talked about action movies, but horror movies, is that a foundational thing for you?
Yeah. I love any kind of movie. Like I remember going to see Jaws in the theaters. Like, I think I was like 10 years old or something at the time.
Wow.
Or even younger. I snuck in with my big brother, and I remember scaring the crap out of myself. I'm like, to this day, cruise ships are out. After seeing that, I didn't even want to go in the bathtub for 2 weeks. So,
that's the desired effect of that movie, and I'm very vocal about how that is my favorite movie of all time.
Mine
and
too. I can see that.
And I love the ocean.
Really?
I've been fascinated by sharks since I was like as young as possible could be, 2 years old, 3 years old. Yeah.
Well, you're crazy. So, I'm fascinated by them, but I just don't want to be near them. I don't need to be food. I'm a lot of food for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is true. You'd be a good meal that they mistake a seal for, or you for a seal. I was fascinated by them. I've always wanted to take scuba lessons and go cage diving with them. Like, that's something that I'd like to do at some point in my life, just to be in their presence in their natural environment.
Yeah. Well, it affected you differently than me.
It did. But that's why, it's such an amazing, and it, celebrated 50 years this year.
Yeah,
and it's perfect from first second to the last second of every frame of that movie is amazing.
Yeah. Like I say, that is one that I go to regularly. I've probably seen it hundreds and hundreds of times over the years.
Yep.
And I just love it from start to finish. That whole monologue on the boat with Quinn. Yeah, Quinn.
Yeah. And then they bust into song. There's something about a movie like that, and classic movies like that have they're not even genreless, but they're just they don't fall into like Jaws doesn't fall into a horror movie. It's just it's a time and place. It's a period piece in a way of, especially like New England and Long Island at that time, and yeah, it's just perfect.
Technically, it is kind of a horror movie. There is a lot of blood.
I mean, sure, it is, but I wouldn't pigeonhole it into just horror,
right?
You know,
it is. It checks off a lot of the boxes, and that's why I love it. Yeah.
Totally. Were you a fan of the original Halloween? Like, is that something you were familiar with? I mean, obviously, you're going with Rob's vision, but the character of Michael Myers.
Yeah, I mean, I was familiar with it, but what I did was I went back and I watched all of them except for 3 where Michael Myers doesn't show up. I don't know what that's all about, but so I wanted to see what they did and put my own spin on it and put my own twist. And because we were telling the backstory, making him more than just a one-dimensional character, and that whole process was just amazing.
Yeah. There's a for anybody that doesn't know, and I don't know if you know, there is a 4-hour making of documentary on YouTube of the first movie, and it goes in chronological order. So it was interesting to see you come in and do the fitting, you know, the latex for the mask and all that.
Yeah.
What interests me about your portrayal, like, I'm not sure, I forget the guy's name who played the first one, but obviously your size really plays a huge part in the role. Was that something that, like, when you got the part, you're like, I'm going to have to do different things because I'm taller than pretty much anybody that will ever play this role and has ever really done, you know, a kind of slasher flick?
Well, I mean, like, I don't look at myself as being tall. I look at myself
as
the way I am, you know, and so I just did my thing and put my spin on it. And of course, anybody that I'm chasing, like if I'm chasing Scout or Danielle Harris or the little kids, I look like a giant, you know. So it was just nice icing on top of the cake, my size.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I never
a little bit faster than some of them, you know, because it just to intensify it a bit.
Yes, and there's a pretty kind of a harrowing experience, I guess. In your first day of shooting with Scout, where she stabbed you.
She did. She did. Yes. Yeah, we were doing the tombstone scene in the basement, and she picked up, I'm going to show her the picture, our family picture. And she picks up my knife and goes to stab me. And the props guy didn't change it out for the retractable knife for some reason. But I had a piece of cardboard underneath there just in case, type of thing. So luckily she wasn't very strong back then. But yeah, I got stabbed the first day, and then we went running out and doing the scene where we're busting through the chain link and stuff and chasing her out. She goes busting through that door, and somebody yelled, "Keep going!" And it wasn't Rob. So I'm like, okay, I'll just keep going. I should have known it wasn't Rob. So I burst the door open, and Scout's there just on a little ledge, and it was like 2 stories down, and it bumped her off. So she's starting to fall. I had to reach out and grab her, pull her back, and save her. So in the first day of shooting, she stabbed me, I saved her, and had 3 more months to go. Yeah.
And it's the only time Michael Myers tries to save anybody.
Oh, exactly, right? I was like, shit, this is going to be a long 2-3 months.
Yeah. Now, in that documentary, and, you know, Rob's talked about this a bunch of times, was everybody kind of aware of how frustrated he was with what was going on with the studio? Because, like, he's real vocal about that. And I think, you know, I enjoyed those movies. I saw them in the theater, and I think your portrayal of Michael is beyond brutal. And that's kind of what you need to do for a role like that. But were you aware of what was going on? Is that something that
I was, you know, because Rob would come into my trailer to vent, you know, and just to get away from it all, you know. So we'd just sit there and he'd tell me what was going on. I was like, oh my God, it was, and I think it was more the second one than it was the first one too.
Right.
they were just trying to change the script and take away his budget and all kinds of silly stuff. And I think with the second one, they wanted to do like 5 million in PR shots and stuff. So that's why Rob, and they were taking it from the budget of the film. So that's why Rob had all the crazy things in there and stuff. And I remember, like, I mean, he would come into my trailer frustrated and he'd be like, okay, good night, see you first thing in the morning. I'm going to go home and have to keep writing now and fix what the hell's going on, So he got really no sleep over that. And it was sad, because if they would have just let Rob do his script, it would have been, it turned out good, but it would have been so much better if they would have just backed off. But that's the studios for you.
I mean, it's why I think we all kind of, like, people, especially the horror fans, flocked to House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, is because that was his vision. And like, that's what we wanted to see. But yeah, like you said, it's the studios, and that's a battle that nobody's winning.
No. And you'd think that they would be smart enough to back off, but everybody wants to put their little hands in the pie because, hey, the first one held the Labor Day box office record for 14 years. 14 years. Got beat by a Marvel movie. So no, seriously, so think about it. It held its own for a long, long time.
Yeah. People, I think, and you could speak on this, I think when a creator has a vision for a property that maybe is not theirs, whether it be Halloween or a Marvel movie, I think when a director or writer or whatever has the vision, those visions are usually what the people want to see, because they're flocking to see their previous movies. And when you get studio interference, we get whatever they think we want, which is not art.
Right.
It's not art.
And they're trying to protect their asses, if I can say that on here. Or they're trying to create their own legacy or whatever. It's like with Jupiter's Legacy, that was Netflix. It turned out good and great, and we were number one in the world the day they canceled it. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? But that was a whole nother suit thing. They changed the suits at Netflix. They didn't want to have it in under their umbrella because they wanted their own projects. Because if a project does well that wasn't theirs, then they're like not getting the credit. You know what I mean? So it's a very crazy situation, this business, and that's why I started my own production company. To be able to create and do things like that, so you don't have to hopefully deal with that.
And before we get into that, I do want to it baffles me about the Jupiter's Legacy thing, because Mark Miller, he sold it all to Netflix. So they paid all of this money to have him come in and bring all his properties in, and then you're going to go and cancel it. It's dumbfounded. It made me completely dumbfounded to see that.
Because I was talking, the last day of shooting, I was talking with the producers, and they were explaining the whole 5-year program. They were going to tell the backstory of Black Star and how he, how he got to be where he is. And I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. But I guess we got to look at it as being, everything happens for a reason, because to get into that outfit took like 3 hours of makeup.
I bet.
It was a lot, but that was my favorite character to date. He was just such a badass, and he had that softer side, and to be able to give him sort of, an arc, and we were going to give him the rest of the arc. And so, it was one of my favorite characters.
Well, people can still go on Netflix and watch it. I rewatched the first episode because it's like so focused on that big fight, and and you're a main focus of that. So it was nice to see that again, because that came out during the pandemic, I think, right?
Just after the pandemic. We'd shot 2019. They were just going into post, and then the pandemic happened, which just screwed everything up and raised the cost of everything. And, everything was having to be done remotely. And So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you at least enjoyed working and, like that you look back at that fondly because, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to watch it. So getting into the production side, but also the comic side,
Yeah.
you released the Last Spartan Red Tape last year, but comics is in your family. Your wife
Yes.
is a former editor of Top Cow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Renee Geerlings. Yeah. And that's how this all came about. Like we've done 2 pictures before. We did Compound Fracture and we did Penance Lane that are out on the platforms. And,
Mm-hmm.
The Last Spartan came across my desk probably 15 years ago. It was written by John Saunders. It was a novel. And, he reached out to me because he asked his sons, he said, who would you want to play Frank Kane? Who's Frank Kane? And they both said Tyler Mane. So that's how the book came to me. And then John and I got to be friends. And what we did was I was wanting to do it into a feature film, but then
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with Tom DeSanto and David Hayter, and they both said, "Why don't you do a comic book, a graphic novel? You have Renee." And I was like, "I do." So, so the light bulbs started going off, and I'd never done the process of a graphic novel or a comic book, and I was like,
Yeah.
I talked to Renee, and she said, "We can, but." It's going to be a lot of work and all of this. But then we went to laying it out and talking and figuring out who we'd want to write it. And we first thought of Christopher Priest and
Yeah.
he came on board and, he wrote Black Panther, Punisher, Vampirella, Captain America, Superman, Eisner nominated.
Mm-hmm.
I shoot high. And if I get them, get them, and,
Yeah.
and we got them. And, so then, okay, so we're taking meetings with Christopher and trying to collaborate on this because the Last Spartan Red Tape deals with human trafficking and human trafficking awareness. And we wanted
Mm-hmm.
the story to be close to what is going on in modern day. And
Sure.
so we were doing all this research and the stuff that is going on in the human trafficking world just will blow your mind. It's crazy. We would come up with these stories. Well, what if we did this? And 2 of the people at the meeting go, that had never happened. I go, well, it just did last week, and it's like, oh my God. So doing the research, we realized that we wanted to take the Last Spartan, create this bigger world for it so that we can update it and make it more modern for modern day times and create all these extra characters to come in and play. And create this new team to take care of human traffickers. And it has just been a passion project ever since. And since going out to conventions and talking with people, at every convention, I run into about 2 or 3 people that has personally affected their lives. You wouldn't
Oh, wow.
whether they're a first responder and dealing with it and thanking me for bringing awareness to it, to someone who just about lost or have lost a family member or a close friend. And it is something, it's one of those things that when it's out of sight, out of mind, so I knew I had to do something with this to get the awareness out. And that's why we teamed with deliverfund.org, an organization that helps law enforcement with technology to catch the assholes, as I call them, and put them away. And so that's what we're doing, and where we did a Kickstarter about a year ago for this, but now it is being released into comic book shops. So go to your local comic book shop, ask for the Last Spartan Red Tape. Here it is right here. That is
Nice.
That is a cover by Mark Silvestri. Legendary Mark Silvestri. And people ask me, how did you get Mark Silvestri? Well, he was Renee's boss. So, and that was another reach out. And it came down to the wire. We were like, ask Mark, and I'd met him a few times and stuff, and we hung out. And so she asked him and it came down to it. And I think probably just a few weeks before we did the first Kickstarter, the cover came in, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" It just blew me away,
Yeah.
you know. And so then we had that, and we added to it, and now we're in comic book shops. So go to your local comic book shop, ask them to bring it in. If you don't have a local comic book shop, go to the lastspartan.com, and you can see the graphic novels there. We also have a Halloween homage
Oh,
cover. This is the
there we go.
cover, which is the Halloween homage cover. So there's a couple of different variants of it, and you can get it at lastspartan.com, tylermane.com, mainentertainment.com. So, and a portion of the proceeds goes to deliverfund.org to help put an end to human trafficking.
And for anybody listening or watching on YouTube or on Spotify, wherever, all the links will be in the description below. So you can you don't even have to think about it. You just scroll down and click.
There we go. I would appreciate the support. Most definitely.
And, of course. And what's interesting in a full circle moment when you think about it with Marc Silvestri, he comes about in the late 80s and early 90s, and he draws some of the most iconic Sabertooth covers and pages in Uncanny X-Men and in Wolverine. Like he's him and Jim Lee are my X-Men artists growing up.
Yeah. And if you want to even pull that even back further, Christopher Priest was at Marvel at the time as his editor, and he's the one that said to Mark, this thing called X-Men came across his desk, and Christopher was like, "Go draw it now," So that's
Perfect.
how that all even evolved. So I mean, it's
one happy family.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of top tier people involved in this project that go back a long way,
That's amazing. And for my listeners, a little exclusive. Tyler's the first person to actually hear this. In November, I'll be recording an interview with Marc Silvestri. So I'm excited
cool.
he's I've got that on the schedule. So I'm excited for that.
Nice.
So what's next for for Last Spartan Red Tape? Are you trying to develop it maybe into a show or movie? Are we going to do another graphic novel? What's next?
Yeah, what we have coming up is we have another Kickstarter that's going to be going on in probably January, February. Renee doesn't like me rushing these things but we're halfway through. We have the story in. We're halfway through the art already. It's off to the colorist, and we're waiting on the second half of the book. So it is going to be a 22-page single issue carrying on, so that we can keep raising awareness and keep raising funds for deliverfund.org. And the end goal is to hopefully keep putting out issues, but also turn it into a TV series so we can keep raising awareness and raising funds and helping save lives.
Yeah, nasty business, that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I'm definitely going to go to Deliver and, read up about it and, read the book. But, there's a lot of stuff wrong with this world, but that's something that's like you said, it needs more awareness.
Yeah. It is something. It's one of those things out of sight, out of mind. Oh, it had never happened to us. But that's the thing. It does. It's in every backyard, so to speak, in America and around the world, and it's been happening since the dawn of time, but it's getting even worse with the technology, the internet and stuff like that. So we have to be very aware of what's going on.
Sure. I 100% back that. I wanted to ask for people around the country, where can they find you next? Because you do a lot of cons. You do a lot of the horror-based cons and some of the comic cons as well.
Yeah. Oh, that is a good question. I have no idea what. Go to tylermane.com, mainentertainment.com. There is a calendar on there that will say where I'm going to be. I'm somewhere just about every weekend promoting the graphic novel or trying to get the word out so that we can raise the awareness for this. So go to tylermane.com, mainentertainment.com, and check my schedule for where I'm going to be. I may be in your neck of the woods, so come by and see me.
And I think a good way to close this out, because this will be coming out probably the first or second week of October. Do you have any what do you do for Halloween? Do you have traditions? Do you watch a movie? Do you attend, like a certain party? Is Halloween a big thing for you, especially these days post being in Halloween?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty low key. I get the candy for the kids and hand out some candy and stuff like that. But people say I should dress up and scare the heck out of them. I'm like, no, they're like, oh, well, come on, why wouldn't you be Michael Myers for Halloween? I don't even put my thought into my costumes. Like if we go to a costume party for Halloween, I'll put 3 dots on my head and I'll be a bowling ball. So
I think if you were to walk around your neighborhood dressed up as Michael Myers, I think that would make the national news very quickly. People would be locking themselves in their houses because they wouldn't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But well, Tyler, I really appreciate if there's anything else that I missed on promoting. If there's something else you want to talk about coming out, I would love to. But
yeah,
other than that,
we covered it all. Thanks, man. And like I said,
yeah,
just get your copies.
Yeah, Last Spartan Red Tape. Yeah, and look for the Kickstarter next year. Maybe we can do this again whenever that's ready to go.
Yeah, sounds good. You can also go to Main Entertainment, sign up for the email list too. Then you will stay in touch. And follow me on Instagram and Facebook.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Like I said, all the links will be in the description below, so you can just click and follow, click and hit the mailing list. But Tyler, I appreciate your time today. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching that, and big thanks to Tyler for taking the time out of his day. And I have a feeling he'll be back on at some point. And yes, if you listen closely, you'll get an exclusive hint to one of my guests coming up in the next couple months. You can find all the links for everything in the description below. And if you are new here to the podcast, you can expect more interviews like this as I widen the variety of guests that I host. I want to talk to people in all of the professions that I am a fan of. So in the movies and TV, comics, obviously, and music, and maybe sports, and who knows what else. If you are new, also please consider subscribing to it on whatever platform you are listening to. It's available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, my website, directeditionpodcast.com. You can find all those links there. Everything's in the description below as well. Like I said, if you would love to support the podcast and you don't know how, well, I have a Patreon. It's $5 a month. It'll get you episodes of this and episodes of West Coast Davengers, my comic book channel, every month that are exclusive to the Patreon. But I'll leave you now. I hope you have a great spooky month. Watch all the horror movies all the time. And I'll see you next week on Direct Edition. See you later, ghouls. Hello, friends. It's your pal Dave, and I want to introduce to you my brand new Patreon, West Coast Davengers and Direct Edition, all under one umbrella. You can now support me by joining the Patreon for $5 a month, and what you're going to get is me wearing this shirt and nothing else. I'm just kidding. You're going to get at least one bonus episode of West Coast Davengers and one bonus episode of Direct Edition per month. As well, I'm going to let you vote on the content of another West Coast Davengers video where I flip through a rare book or a rare magazine or something that you've never seen before, and you get to participate in what book it is. As well, every 2 months, I'm going to do a private sale right here, Patreon exclusive, and you're going to have first access to buying it well before it goes live on West Coast Wednesday, my comic book claim sale. So that's a little exclusivity for you. So plop down $5 a month. It's not that much to ask, is it? I'm waiting. No, it's not. For $5 a month, you can help support and grow this community while we do some great things together. West Coast Avengers and Direct Edition. Fucking hell, let me do that one more part over again. Yeah, that's right.